Hello and welcome to the writerly witterings that's in between things, because it's between Christmas and New Year. I'm being nudged for attention already. But today I'm going to be talking about some leather wallets, leather holders, notebook holders, which are very different, and I have some comments about them which you may find interesting. So let's get on to it after I've taken a glug of some excellent tea from Robertson's in Oxted in Surrey. And this is their Christmas tea, which is fabulous. Cheers. Okay, so let's have a think about some leather wallets. And I'm going to explain first of all by showing you a couple of examples. But first, let me just say, I like playing with leather. This is a little belt pocket I've designed for myself, just so that when I'm out and about, I can have this on my belt, and if I see things such as bits of stick and wood that would be good to light in a fire, I can pick them up. And then when I've burned all those little bits of wood and had my cup of coffee or tea, whatever it might be, I can just fold up my little waxed cotton pocket. That's a timer to remind me I've got bread in the oven. And there you go. A neat little handy, useful thing to have. I also do things like tankards. This is a fully waterproof tankard I made so that I can take it around with me when I'm out Morris dancing. So I know how to stitch leather. I know how to work leather so it can be waterproof. Basically, I can play with leather quite happily. Now, I usually use one of two types of notebook. I have this type, which is a traveller's notebook. It used to be Midori Traveller's Notebook, but I believe they're just Traveller's Notebook now. And it's beautiful. It's very simple. It's just a piece of leather which is supple, lovely to handle, and works very well. And then you've got things like the William Hanna, which is the polar opposite. This is beautifully stitched. It's bespoke. You can have whatever sort of internal colour and external colour, whatever colour of thread you want, everything. And it's a fantastic, simple ring binder system that holds your paper in place, but you can rip out your paper and move it around. You can just take out spare sheets, anything you want. It is a beautifully designed, beautifully made piece of equipment. Now, you can get other types of leather wallet to protect your notebooks. Here's one. These two were given to me recently for me to review, I think, and I'm enormously grateful. But I've got to apologise. Some people really like me mentioning their names, other people don't, and I can't remember whether this very kind donor cared whether I mentioned his name or not. But opening it up, it's a fairly simple design. It has a card section, a holder section, something to put something else in, a pen holder, which is convenient, big slot, and personally I use this as the internal strap to hold my notebook in place. That strap is very neat, goes right round the back, and then you can pull it round to the front like that, and that then forms the closure which protects everything inside. It's simple, it's rather agricultural, I would say. If you look at the edge like this, you can see how thick those bits of leather are. I say they're thick. I now have a battery for my digital caliper, which I have had now for, good lord, I must have bought this in the 1980s, because I bought it when I was pistol shooting, and I used this to measure the internal and external diameters of my cartridge cases and things. And it's brilliant. It's a lovely device, really is. They're so good, they're still making exactly this design now. So how thick is the leather? It is over 3mm. So it's quite thick leather. And when you've got two thicknesses together, then it's obviously 6mm thick. So it is very thick. The stitching is well done, I think. I don't know if it's machine stitching. I think it probably is machine, because when you get hand stitched leather, I can demonstrate it with my tankard. You can see here that each stitch is at a slight angle, so you've got like that, like that, like that. And the reason is, when you're stitching leather by hand, the stitches go through and then back, through and then back. By which I mean, you have your piece of leather, different types of stitching. So if you have a piece of leather punctured with holes here and here, your stitching, hand stitching, will come out and up and out and round. And then the second stitch will come this way. If on the other hand you have a piece of machine stitched leather, the string comes like this, because a sewing machine or anything similar cannot get the loops through the bits of leather in that way. One way is to look at the leather very closely. This will look much more stitching in a straight line. But if it's hand stitched, each of the stitches will look a bit like this. And the reason is that generally the hand stitcher will use an awl that is diamond shaped. And that means you get a hole which is diamond shaped, and you get a number of them, naturally, to make your sewing line. And so before you stitch, your series of holes will look like this, a series of diamonds, and the stitching, when pulled tight, will go from there to there, from there to there, from there to there, because it's always going to find the shortest distance. And so you always have, if you look at it on the side, it looks that, that, that. So that's one thing. I do enjoy stitching by hand. It is very pleasant and fun. Now you can get nice little pieces of workmanship like this where they've carefully cut out a section here in order that this strap will fit flat, flush at the edge. Although they haven't done that for this pocket, which is a bit of a shame. This is a rivet that goes through to hold the pen loop and also gives you this extra loop here. It's machine stitched, yes, but it is very well done. It's nicely done. It's a lovely bit of leather, although it is really enormously thick. You're looking at something that is, let's see, just turn on my calipers again. So it's about 1.23 thick there, which is quite a thickness to have on top of your notebook, spiral bound or not, and then trying to keep that in a pocket. It doesn't really work. It really is something you have to hold in a small bag or case, which is not to say that there's a problem. For example, if I look at my William Hanna because of those metal rings, it's always going to be considerably thicker, but a bit different. And as you can see, machine stitched, definitely not hand stitched. So why am I going into all this detail? Well, because with the larger A5 version, it was a bit disappointing. I tried to make use of the pen loop and this flap immediately popped out. Why did it pop out? As I demonstrated here, there's a rivet. There's a base plate on the back, there's a front plate there, and when you put that rivet onto really thick leather, if it's not done absolutely perfectly, it's going to come away like this. Now, I've been looking at this, I've wondered whether to put on some poppers, such as I have here, but I think that that would then increase the size of this significantly. I may just decide to stitch it together at some point. It's nice leather, it's quite hard, but it's supple enough. But again, this is something that would be, I think, handy to carry around with me, but it doesn't give me the feeling that it would be entirely practical. It is big, it is really very fat indeed. Again, the dimensions here, so the thicker point, that's 1.3, basically it's going to be at least 1.5 to put a notebook in it. That'll increase to 3 centimeters thick, and that's, to my mind, too fat to carry around on its own or in a bag. It's just a little bit oversized. Also, I'm not happy about all of these different things that stick out and protrude, because when you're writing on them, your pen is going, or pencil is going to fall into each of these gaps or make a horrible mess where it comes to this bit of elastic. So it's a nice design, but for me, I'm a bit disappointed about the quality of the riveting. They really should have looked at that a bit more carefully. So that was sad. I'm not happy that the stitching is particularly strong, because you can see how flexible it is there. That stitching should be a lot tighter. So although they've gone over it twice from the look of it with the machine, there's 2 thicknesses of stitching there, it's still not tight. And I have to say, the one last thing is, with something this size, do it the other way, it's easier. Having the strap that holds it closed that far up means that it can flap a bit and is not ideal. When I look at the design of the William Hanna, that is much more effective, because I can slide the pen holder much closer to the opening, and that means that the opening is less likely to come open. Again, look at this. No real, yeah, it just flaps open a bit too much for my taste. And it is only my taste, it's not something that's a great problem to most people, I've no doubt. It's just something that doesn't appeal to me. So if you like fairly agricultural looking notebooks, if you want some good quality thick leather, which these definitely are, and you're not overly bothered about the actual construction and how robust it is, or otherwise, then these are definitely a very good choice. Personally, for me, it's a little bit too agricultural looking. I think I would prefer something like the Midori Standard, or possibly the Endless, which I've reviewed earlier. But as things stand, these don't do it for me. And there you have it. These two, very gratefully received, but they don't quite do it for me. It's not the fact that it's machine stitched, after all. That's machine stitched, a William Hanna. All my William Hannas tend to be machine stitched. Focus on me, not the books, please, camera. Thank you. Hand stitching is good because hand stitching means you get really strong, tight fixings. This is my hand stitching here. Beautiful, isn't it? But when you see something that is this loose, that's not just because it was machine stitched. The tension just isn't right in that stitching. And it was disappointing that the rivet fell out within a couple of days of getting it. So, very grateful for the chance of having a look at these though. And now, we have a whole new year coming up. Isn't that exciting? It's going to be, hopefully, a better year coming, 2022. I think most of us are going to be as delighted to see the end of 2021 as we were to see the end of 2020. Let's just hope it all improves. What's next for me? Well, I've got more pens to look at. Narwhal. I've got a nice little Kaweco to look at. I've got really quite a lot of stuff. I've got pen cases, I've got book covers, I've got a huge number of pencils to look at, which is going to be quite interesting. And so I'm going to be kept busy. I've also still got a lot of letters to write to friends who are in the Writerly Witterings Pen Pals Club, because I am very behind. If you're interested, if you haven't seen this, we started a Pen Pals Club last year so that people like us, that means you, viewer, can also write letters by hand and send them to like-minded folks. And it's a rapidly increasing number of people who are involved in this, and it's been great fun. So why haven't you joined it yet? If you're interested, go to the bottom here and have a look. There's an email address there that you can write to me at, and I'll send you a link so that you can see how to join up if you're interested. And apart from that, hit the subscribe if you haven't, hit the bell so you're notified, like it, tell your friends, tell anybody you want, and like it and all those things. And in the meantime, thanks very much for watching. Thanks for your support here on YouTube, but also on Patreon. And I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks a lot. Have a wonderful, happy New Year. Enjoy your New Year's Eve. And let's hope that 2022 is a vast improvement. See you soon.